Hey, Owen from Guitar Mastery Method here. Today I'm going to show you 3 finger tapping guitar licks guaranteed to impress. At the end of this lesson, you'll have 3 amazing sounding tapping licks that you can rip out in your next solo, as well as we will cover all the really important basics of a good tapping technique. First of all, check out the description box down below. There's a link to your free PDF download for the reference material for this lesson. You're going to want to click that link, download the PDF, print it out, take some notes if you need to, because you're going to need that PDF to make the most of this lesson. The finger tapping technique is most often associated with a hard rock or heavy metal style of music, but tapping works in any genre of music. Jazz, blues, rock, metal, classical even. And the 3 licks that I'm going to show you today show different sides of the tapping technique that you can incorporate into your own style of music. Let's first look at a couple of real basics for tapping that you just need to make sure you've got covered off before we get into the 3 licks. When you're tapping, what do you do with your pick? You could throw it to the audience, but then you'd sort of have to hope that that audience member gave your pick back before you needed it. So probably don't do that. What you can do is palm your pick, like so. It's a magical move there. When you're holding your pick in the normal picking position, you need to free up your first finger to do some tapping. So what you can do is you can open your hand up like this and just use your thumb to place the pick in the joint of your middle finger. You can then close your hand up and hold the pick there. You want to practice going between these 2 positions, as it can get a little bit tricky when you first start, and you might drop your pick. The other option is that you can tap with your middle finger. So you can continue to hold your pick in your normal picking position and then tap with your middle finger. Makes it easy to go between picking and tapping. So there's the palming, the pick technique. Or using the middle finger. Try both out and find out which one fits best into your playing style. When you're tapping, you need to have a point of reference on the fretboard. What I mean by this is that if you're tapping with your first finger, so you palm the pick, put your thumb on the top of the neck and use your first and third fingers to hold the bottom of the neck. So you're supporting your hand so that when you do tap, you're not going to be flying all over the place, possibly missing the strings and poking audience members in the eye. If you're tapping with your middle finger, you're still going to be holding your pick. You won't have the option of putting your thumb on the top of the neck. So get your little finger and your third finger still holding on to the bottom of the neck just to support that middle finger. There's 2 ways to tap. There is a tapping and then flicking your finger down and doing what is the same action as a pull-off, where you're using your finger to pluck the string. Some very famous guitar players who are very good at tapping use a different technique where they will flick the string upwards when they play. Try these both out. The most common way, and definitely the way that I do it, is to flick downwards on the string. The tapping technique often involves a lot of stretching, particularly with your fretting hand. We've got a really good video on the Guitar Mastery Method YouTube channel on stretching and warming up, so I'll put a link to that in the description. Do go through those exercises first just to make sure that your hands are all ready to go. Don't want any injuries, and you don't want to have to not play your guitar because you've pulled a muscle or some such thing. So do check out that video. Do those warm-ups on a daily basis every time you practice, and they'll really help with your stretching and your ability to practice for longer. Our first of our 3 impressive guitar finger tapping licks is an octave tapping lick. What we're going to do here is we're going to spell out a G-shaped pentatonic scale with both of our hands. This is a technique you'll hear a lot from players such as Steve Vai, Nuno Bettencourt. It's quite a simple technique, but it sounds really impressive. Let me just play it for you. I'll play it nice and slowly and then explain what we're doing. And of course, this is a technique and a pattern that sounds really good sped up. But of course, start off really, really slowly and build up the speed. So, as I say, we are spelling out a G-shaped pentatonic scale. We're playing this starting at the 5th fret, which is 5th fret of the low E string, 8th fret of the low E string, 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret, on the D string, 5th fret, 7th fret, on the G, 5th fret, 7th fret, on the B string, 5th fret, 8th fret, and on the E string, 5th fret, 8th fret. For the low E string, we use our 1st and 4th fingers. For the A string, our 1st and 3rd fingers. D string, 1st and 3rd fingers. On the G, our 1st and 3rd fingers. On the B string, our 1st and 4th fingers. And on the high E string, our 1st and 4th fingers. What we're going to do, as I mentioned, is we're going to spell out that shape an octave higher. So we start off at the 5th fret with our fretting hand. If we go up an octave, which is 12 frets, we have exactly the same shape up here. So starting at the 17th fret of the low E string, 20th fret. On the A string, we have the 17th, 19th, D string 17, 19, on the G 17, 19, on the B we have 17, 20, and on the high E 17, 20. So exactly the same scale, just an octave higher. So this shape, if we can visualize it up here, is the pattern that we'll be tapping over. So as I mentioned, there's a PDF in the description which has the tab for this. You're going to need that. It's going to make a lot more sense. Let me just take you through the first part of the pattern. With our 1st finger at the 5th fret of the low E string, hold that note down. We're not playing that note yet. Our first note is tapped. So we're tapping with our 1st finger of our picking hand at the 17th fret. We then pull that off, back down to sound that 5th fret note, and then hammer on with our little finger to the 8th fret of the low E string. So the first 3 notes are simply. We then jump up to the second note of that G-shaped pentatonic pattern, and we tap at the 20th fret of the low E string, pull off back down to sound the 5th fret, and then hammer on to the 8th. So our fretting hand is doing the same action. We're just moving our tapping hand to spell out the shape of that scale. We now jump down to the A string, spelling out the G-shaped pentatonic pattern on that string. So at the 5th fret, our first finger is ready and waiting here, not sounding out the note yet. We're tapping at the 17th fret of the A string, and then pulling that off to sound out the 5th fret note, and then hammering on to the 7th fret with our 3rd finger. We then take the same shape and we're tapping this note up an octave. So we tap at the 19th fret, pull off to sound the 5th fret, hammer on to the 7th. Do check out the tab for this, it'll make it far easier to follow along. We then go to the D string, tap the 17th, pull off to the 5th, hammer on to the 7th. Tap the 19th, pull off to the 5th, hammer on to the 7th. First and 3rd finger being used on our fretting hand. On the G, same pattern, tap at the 17th, pull off to the 5th, hammer on to the 7th. Tap the 19th, pull off to the 5th, hammer on to the 7th. The next 2 strings of our G-shaped pentatonic pattern are, of course, 5th fret, 8th fret, 5th fret, 8th fret. So we're going to be tapping out that shape. We tap 17th fret on the B string, pull off to the 5th fret, hammer on to the 8th fret with our little finger. We then tap the 20th fret on the B string, pull off to the 5th, hammer on to the 8th. And exactly the same on the high E string, tap the 17th fret, pull off to the 5th fret, hammer on to the 8th, and then one slight variation here, we finish up the lick just by tapping at the 20th fret. And that's our final note. Let me just play it for you slowly one more time. Our second guitar finger tapping exercise guaranteed to impress is a more classical sounding piece, and it's something that may sound a bit familiar to you if you've heard Eddie Van Halen's live guitar solos from back in the day. This uses an open string as well, so a little bit of a variation on what we've been doing so far. Let me just play it through and explain what we're doing. We start off the lick by tapping at the 12th fret on the B string. We then pull off to the open B string. We then tap the 12th fret on the B string. For this lick, every odd numbered note is a tap at the 12th fret. So good to remember that when you're playing it. So tap at the 12th, pull off to the open string, tap again at the 12th, and then with our first finger, we fret the 4th fret. So when we pull off, it sounds out that 4th fret note. Tap again at the 12th fret and pull off to the 5th fret with our second finger. Tap the 12th, pull off to the 7th fret with our 4th finger. We then tap the 12th fret again, pull off to the open B string again. We then fret the 5th fret with our first finger, tap at the 12th, pull off to the 5th. Tap the 12th again on the B string, pull off to the 7th, which is our third finger. Tap the 12th fret again on the B string, pull off to the 8th fret, which is our little finger. We then tap the 12th fret again, pull off to the open string, tap the 12th fret, pull off to the 9th fret, which is our first finger, tap the 12th fret, pull off to the 8th fret, which is our second finger, tap the 12th fret on the B string, pull off to the 10th fret, which is our little finger. So far, we've got this. We then tap the 12th fret again on the B string, pull off to the open string, tap the 12th fret, pull off to the 2nd fret with our first finger, tap the 12th fret, pull off to the 4th fret, the third finger, and tap the 12th fret, pull off to the 5th fret, our little finger. And that's the end of the lick. Let me play it for you one more time, a little bit faster. This third lick includes what is called a tapped slide, which is a great sounding technique that you can incorporate into any style of music. Let me take you through what I played there. We start off by tapping the 15th fret of the high E string, pulling that off to the 10th fret where our first finger is waiting. We then do a little bit of legato and hammer on two notes. So with our first finger, we play the 10th fret, hammer on to the 12th fret with our second finger, hammer on to the 14th fret with our little finger. So those four notes, tap at the 15th, pull off to the 10th, hammer on to the 12th, hammer on to the 14th. And that in itself is a very cool repeating lick that you can put into your solos. But we're going to make it even cooler by putting in that tap slide. So we play those four notes, 15, 10, 12, 14. We then tap the 15th fret again. But what we're going to do now is hold that note down and slide it up to the 17th fret and then back down to the 15th fret. So just that little section. We then pull off to the 14th fret. We then pull off from the 14th fret with our little finger to the 12th fret, second finger, then pull off to the 10th fret, where our first finger is waiting. We then come back up by hammering on to the 12th fret with our second finger, hammering on to the 14th fret with our little finger, and then we play that tapped slide again. So tap at the 15th fret on the high E string, slide up to the 17th, slide back down to the 15th. Let me just play through what we've done so far. And we just repeat through that pattern. In the tab, we've got 3 of those tap slides, but you can just keep playing this for as long as you like. Just follow that same pattern. And of course, speed it up to whatever speed you feel comfortable with. I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I enjoy bringing it to you. Tapping is definitely one of my favourite guilty pleasures when it comes to guitar playing, and it's always really cool to find out different ways to use it than what you might be used to hearing. Please do go ahead, click that subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell icon so that you'll be the first to know when our new videos come out. Do it now, click that subscribe button. So what did we do today? We had a couple of tips on getting your tapping sounding better. Choose which way you want to hold your pick. If you want to palm your pick like a tapping magician and tap with your first finger, then just work on that transition, getting it back and forward between the two. If you want to keep holding on to your pick, tap with your second finger. That's totally fine as well. Just try both, work out which is the most comfortable way for you to play. Particularly if you do a lot of swapping between tapping and picking. Then you might just want to keep holding on to your pick and tap with the middle finger. Also, try out flicking downwards with your finger, tapping finger, and flicking upwards. Work out which style suits you the best. And of course, in the description box down below, check out that stretching and warm-up video. Very, very important. We then had our 3 licks guaranteed to impress. The octave tapping lick, the open string lick, and of course the tapped slide lick. Also in that description box down below, I'm going to put a link to a practice session cheat sheet. This is going to show you exactly what you need to be playing every time you pick up your guitar to practice to get the most out of your practice session. See you in the next lesson.